really all, just like with the honey, it's all going to come down to the quality of the grapes or the grape juice that you use as well. That's going to ultimately make all the difference.
And it's there, I think you stated sort of a fundamental truth. You know, it's very much like data. You get, you know, it's garbage in, garbage out. The quality of your I'm a geek too. The quality of your ingredients is going to have a direct and profound influence on the results that you intend to get. And I see this with people doing recipes, and they're you know, some people cut corners. Not, you know, a lot of people don't, but some people do kind of cut corners, or they, oh wow, I got an awesome deal on this extra watery honey, stuff like that. And it's like, well, that might be good, but it might not, you know.
Yeah.
And
that's the thing is, you know, what are you trying to get out of that, and are you willing to put into it what you want to get out of it?
Yeah, so Vicky, you mentioned Chamberson. So
oh God, I love those.
When you actually tasted those grapes of the juice, what impression did it make on you? Like, what did you feel? Sugar, acid, other aspects to it?
To be perfectly honest with you, when I first tasted the really good Chamberson wine, I wasn't knowledgeable enough. This was many, many years ago. I wasn't knowledgeable enough to make that kind of an assessment. I just knew I liked it. When I got the grapes to do my pyment, I love the grape isn't, you know, it's not grapey. First of all, I mean, I don't like super grapey grapes. They, you know, that's why I'm like totally off the Concord and all of its friends, because of things that I dealt with, you know, with the whole grape overload as a kid. But it's crisp, but it's also sweet. It's got it's not, you know, overly sweet. It's got a nice acid balance. I mean, I wouldn't be able to tell you like sugar, you know, what the actual sugar percentages are or anything like that. I just knew that I really liked the way the grape presented, and it interested me. And the problem was I didn't have enough of it, so I had to figure out what in the hell am I going to pair this with to get enough grape juice to make a proper pyment, and decided to go with the Merlot for a lot of reasons. I can't even remember what they were now, and it worked. You know, it was a gamble basically on my part, because I looked everywhere and could not find bags of Chamberson juice. I just couldn't. It just wasn't available to me.
It wouldn't be that common in my experience. So I called that one out only because there are a couple of wineries in the state of Connecticut that make Chamberson wine, and I've been down there a couple times tasting with it. And there's this kind of weird thing, sort of, as if anybody knows what synesthesia is. Mm-hmm. I would call Chamberson grapes and wine, I would call them purple.
Yes.
They're very purple.
They are very purple, yeah.
But they taste purple. They don't just look purple.
Oh, see, no, this didn't taste purple to me at all. At least, okay, now I should do this with a grain of salt, a rather large one, because I've had other Chambersons from other wineries since then, thinking I'd find this magical this magical wine that I love so much, and without having to go all the way back to North Georgia to get it, you know. And I was wrong, and I've yet to find one that impressed me the way this one did. I've found others that were nice, but nothing that lives up to the, you know, the awe of this particular Chamberson wine. And now I'm going to have to go back to North Georgia, track down this winery whose name I don't even remember anymore, and go get another couple of cases of this so that I can analyze it a little bit more properly now that I have a little bit more knowledge than I did then, you know.
Yeah, it feels dense to me as a grape. Like it seemed to have a lot of character. Like it really, like it almost tasted to me when I was tasting it, like it was concentrated already. Like the grape itself just had a concentrated profile, which I'm saying this for people to think, because these are the types of things that are going to help you understand the ingredients that you're working with.
Yeah.
When you say it tastes like purple, it reminds me of those 25-cent juices from the corner store when I was a kid. It's like, what's your favorite flavor?
Purple, yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, like purple and red. I always liked red better. I like red popsicles better, too. I don't know what flavor they are, but I like red ones better than I like purple ones. Again, probably because of the whole Concord, PTS Concord that I got.
Trying to stay away from the grapes. The grape flavor. I mean, some other grape varieties that I can get around here all the time, like Frontenac and Marichal Foch.
No, those are fun.
These are cold weather hardy grapes.
Yeah.
They grow here really well. They don't grow well, you know, in the south.
Do you get ice wine type grapes up there? I don't know what varietal they use for that. I know I love ice wine, but I never bothered to look up the varietal of grapes. I know Pete will slap me later for not knowing something so basic.
Vidal is common, but that's more north of here.
Okay.
That's like Niagara does that.
Yeah, particular type of winter you have to have, and the ones we've been having at least the last couple of years, you sure don't know if it's winter around here. You got to wait and see how the weather goes for the day and figure it out whether do you think it's cold enough or not. But we end up getting these high acid grapes, both the whites and the reds. But the reds, very high acid, very crazy tannins, like Frontenac. It can make a really disgusting red wine because it's just so acidic and so tannic. And
have you found much that honey having its own acidity? Have you found that is something that you have to deal with when you're making pyments? Or does the acidity in the honey work well with the acidity in the grape?
Well, it kind of depends on what kind of pyment. I mean, you're really not going to want a ton of acidity in a red grape pyment, but in a nice, white wine. I guess it all depends on the grape varietal and what you're going for. Like going back to what we said before, it's kind of like you kind of do whatever you want. You go different routes. Do you want to mimic that grape varietal? Do you want to take it dry, off dry, sweet? But you could use the acidity of honey to your advantage in certain styles of pyments, I believe. I do that with that that one Sauvignon Blanc Orange Blossom pyment that we make, and we use the fact that Orange Blossom has a lower acidity content or more acidity than other honey varietals, and that helps bring out that recipe.
Okay.
So yeah, it could play a part, but it kind of all depends too. It's the drier you ferment it, the less sugar there's going to be there to balance the acidity as well. So you have to take that into consideration. That's why it is easier making sweeter pyments. Especially with white grapes. It is. I think Jason actually you mentioned something a few minutes ago or a little bit earlier on about how you actually prefer, you find that in general that most people that you've had taste your pyments prefer the whites over the reds.
Yep. I don't know that I've studied why.
I kind of always thought of, well, if they're being told that this is a, Cabernet Pyment, Cabernet honey wine, whatever you want to call it, I think a lot of people are going to be into the whole idea, okay, I want a nice, dark, tannic, X, Y, and Z characteristic from that grape varietal. And I think it is tougher to make a really good red pyment than it is a white. Most honey varietals are really going to play really nicely with a lot of different white grape varietals than they would with the red grape varietals, I feel. You could make some nice winning matches, don't get me wrong, but as far as getting close to the character of that red wine, it is tougher to do that with a red pyment, I believe. It's so much easier to kind of match a honey with the white grape varietal, find the right yeast, ferment it out to whatever sweetest level you want, and it's usually most of the time pretty awesome. But with red, you're also gonna lose some of that color because you think about it, you're not just fermenting grape juice. You're not just fermenting that grape juice. You're also going to lose some color unless you're using red dyed honey that came from the sugar from an M&M factory or something.
Skittles mead.
Oh, I remember that.
You're going to lose the color that somebody would expect to see when you say this is a Merlot blah blah blah, because they're just going to hear the grape varietal. That's kind of like another thing that always bothered me about making like a red grape pyment. So yeah, there's different things. There's a lot of different things with pyments to take into consideration. At the end of the day, you can just think of it as a mellow. Yeah. And depending on what you want, just find ingredients that work together. As long as they taste good, it's fine.
Yeah. Well, one of our regulars was he's on his way out here. Daniel Levy. He had an exam. But he wanted to say he knows a lot of wine snobs that are very open to the idea of pyments. From a commercial standpoint, you can increase your overall customer base by offering a product that they can stroke their mustaches at, with the added bonus of more people learning about mead. I love that last sentence. That's great. But yeah, I mean, he's right. I think I see Pyments and Braggots as they're the gateway meads into our world. You know, they build a bridge between us and bigger, more open-minded part. Well, not open-minded in the case of maybe wine snobs, but you know, a broader world than the one that we live in. And I, you know, so I think that they would be, you know, from a commercial standpoint, I think Pyments would be a wonderful bridging tool. You know, like Daniel says.
Yeah, I'm wondering about that, and I'm hoping to test that, obviously, commercially. And I think what Sergio was just saying about red Pyments, the challenge that I think I'm running into where people aren't as interested in them, especially if they like red wine, is even if they're fairly dry with just a little bit of sweetness, because most of the mead I make has, you know, 1% or 2% minimum residual sugar in it, it's a sweet red wine. What do we all think about sweet red wines? I think
I kind of like sweet red wines, but that's just me.
Yeah, me too.
But a lot of people don't. A lot of people think that they're kind of craptacular. Offs of red wine, like jug wine. You know, it's just a cheap. Like you threw a little sugar in it to make it taste right. And I wonder if that's underwhelming people. Like they taste it and it's sweet. It doesn't have that austerity of the dry, barrel-aged red wine with its full tannin profile. It might be a little bit disappointing.
Well, I don't know. Yeah. I mean, just to argue market perceptions for just a second, and then we'll get back to the nuts and bolts of Pyments. I spent a summer just running a table for meadery in Asheville, so Fox Hill Meads in near Asheville, and he had stuff ranging from an off-dry all the way up to like super sweet, you know, like sweet, and with a capital S, and they were good, but they were very sweet. And so my question to people as they walked by and interested said, "Oh, look, wine bottles," you know, would be like, "Well, what sort of wine do you like?" And they would come back with a dry red or dry white, you know, and they insisted that they only like dry wines. And yet, when I would do tastings with them, found out that they did, and you know, I mean, more often than not, those people walked away with the sweet apricot or the super sweet Christmas mead that he has a Christmas spice mead, and those were the ones that these people who only drank Merlots were, you know, walked away with. And so I think it's a lot of what they think they like as opposed to what they actually like, you know.
It is.
What they've been told they should like, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of people that think they know what they like, and we get a ton of people coming into the meadery that say, "Oh, everything we're going to taste during the tasting going to be sweet?" And I said, "No."
And leave it at that.
Yeah, and I just leave it at that because as long as there's some acidity and or tannin to balance out the sweetness, you know, the sweetness doesn't really hit you in the face like syrupy, cloyingly sweet.
No.
Perfect example. One of the sweetest meads we make, Midnight Jack. It is the highest final gravity mead that we make, but it has a ton and ton of acidity and tannin from all the dark berries that we use.
I gotta try that
mead.
One.
And there's been countless amounts of people that have said, "Oh, I don't like sweet wines," and then their favorite ends up being Midnight Jack.
Yeah. And that's the thing.
The mead we make.
They've been sold a bill of goods, and I hate to say it, by the Merlot industry. You know, I mean, and the hilarious thing is I've tried a lot of Merlots, and about 80% of them are crap. You know, there's only 20% that are even worth drinking. The good what?
A good French Merlot.
Oh yeah, and those are the ones. Those are some of the ones that were not crap. But I mean, I will try Merlots because I have a lot of friends who drink Merlots, and I'll go, sure, I'll try it. And it's just like, oh my god, that's crap. You know, I won't say that out loud, but that's what's going on in my head. You know, and I will surreptitiously find a way to, you know, like dump it off the edge of the deck or something when they're not looking. Oh no, that was great. I'm a one glass girl. That's all I need. But you know, I mean, it's sad because what's happened is the wine industry has gone to this whole dry is good, and in the interest of dry is good, they don't even bother to make good wine anymore. And you know, it's really kind of sad. So these people are not only believing that dry is what they like, but bad dry is what they like.
Well, yeah. Let's be honest. All right, liquor. The drinks have been flowing for an hour and a half now, right? So. Yep. Let's be honest.
Yeah, I'm just about finished with this 500 ml bottle of 4-year-old barrel-aged raspberry ginger session mead from Nectar
Oh,
Creek,
dear.
but just saying, oh nummies. Well, it's
Well,
only
let's be
7.5%,
Most people that say they know about wine, your average wine drinker that says, "Oh yeah, no, I drink wine all the time. I drink this, I drink that." Let's be honest. Most of them have no idea what the